What grade?
Second grade.
Right. What year was that?
Uh, 50,
54?
yeah. 40, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. In the 50s.
Did your parents have a Chevrolet? Did they have a car?
My parents didn't have no kind of car.
So how would they get around? A mule?
My neighbor or part of it, like granddaddy or cause grandma didn't drive no car.
Back in those days, right? What would your mama cook for supper?
What did my mama what?
Cook for supper.
Oh, well, the only time we had chicken was on a Sunday, and she cooked potatoes and maybe fatback and beans.
Now, the chicken, was that one of the chickens that were running around the yard?
Yeah.
And the fatback came off the pig that y'all had?
Yeah.
Now, did you have to tend to the garden?
Yeah, I had to feed all the livestock and work in the garden.
So you didn't go to school?
Yeah, when I come home from school, that was my choice.
To tend the
Feed
garden?
animals.
Feed animals, tend the garden.
And give them water and work in the garden.
And then later that night, you would eat the vegetables that you were helping to tend.
And after supper, Mama would get the Bible out and would study the Bible and read the verses. And well, we had to be in the bed by 9 o'clock.
So who would kill the chicken and all that?
Mama.
Did you watch?
Put him on the wood block and take a butcher knife and chop his head off.
And you remember seeing her do that?
And I would help when it kill hogs. I would help prepare the meats. We'd chop up the fat and make lard, cook it in a iron pot and the yard and make lard.
Oh, another question too is y'all didn't have no bathrooms, right? You had an outhouse. You had an You didn't have an outhouse.
We didn't have no refrigerator, no iron.
Where would you use the bathroom at?
Huh?
Where did you use the bathroom?
In the woods or an outhouse.
Right, that's what I asked you. You had an outhouse.
Yeah.
Did you have to clean it or like dump buckets or how would that work? There was no sewage system, right? There was no.
If somebody messed up the top of the toilet where you sit down at, it had to be clean. Yeah.
Did it stink?
Yeah, it stunk.
You had to wake up in the middle of the night and go use the bathroom outside.
We had a thing called a slop jar.
Right.
And it'd be in the bedroom. We used that until and then empty the next morning.
So you remember when the sewage system was like invented, where you could flush a commode and?
Yeah.
Did y'all have running water in a faucet?
No.
So you had to get it from outside?
Yeah, from the well in the yard, or either go to a spring in the woods.
And you said you were delivered by a woman who used to be a slave?
Yeah, a black woman brought me into the world. I was born at home.
And your granddaddy took care of her?
Yeah.
How many kids would you say she had?
Who, my mom?
No, the woman that delivered you.
Oh, I don't know.
You think one of her kids was maybe your brother or sister?
Could be.
Right.
But I don't know because it was kept in the closet.
Did you ever imagine life being like it is today as far as,
No, I never thought I'd ever see all this modern technology.
have you ever had to like take a mule to the store or down the road, or
Yeah,
in school, were there a lot of people in your class?
maybe 20 or 30 kids. There was one room.
Was the floor dirt?
No, it was plank,
Right.
a wood floor, and some schools had a place inside where you could go and use the bathroom, but
There was no way to flush it?
they fixed the school where you can use the commode
Right.
in the building. But then some schools didn't have that. Would have to go to the outhouse. They had one for the boys and one for the girls.
Back in those days, would you say you were poor?
Poor.
Yeah. Were you poor?
Poor was the word for it. Because I was raised on fatback meat, pinto beans, and potatoes.
Starch. Something to just keep you from not being hungry.
And Daddy would buy them big barrels of salty herons, and big slabs of fatback, and we'd have one morning we'd have salty herons for breakfast, or either a bowl. Next morning, a bowl of oatmeal. Next morning, fried fatback and with brown gravy and biscuits. And Daddy would buy the big jars of big tin cans of Karo syrup or either molasses.
Did you ever like pickle vegetables or anything like that back then?
Yeah,
Was anything ever pickled?
Yeah, go out in the garden and pick beans and tomatoes, and I help Mama can tomatoes and butterbean.
Back in those days, pickling the vegetables would make it last a lot longer, right?
Yeah.
So y'all did that often?
Huh?
You did that often, like pickled?
Yeah.
And how would you do that? You'd boil the water, put it with vinegar and sugar, or what?
Well, when we made pickles, we boiled the vinegar and sugar together, and then while it was boiling hot, we poured over the cucumbers
Let it cool down.
and seal the top.
Right.
And for desserts, we make them peaches and apples and.
What was your first job?
Peeling apples and I help prepare peel apples and peaches and go pick grapes out in the woods and make grape jelly. And
did you learn how to cook from your mom?
yeah, I was sitting in the kitchen chair at the table making up biscuits when I was 7 years old.
When's the first time you churned butter?
When I was 6 or 7.
What was the process like? How'd you do it?
Make butter and buttermilk.
Right, but how would you make it? What would you do? What did you start from? You start from straight milk?
Sour. When you milk the cow, they set a jar of milk up on a shelf till it turned sour, and then we pour it in the churn and churn the milk until it turned into butter and buttermilk.
I know y'all made biscuits from scratch, but did you ever make bread, like with the yeast and all that?
Yeah, I made bread. Like I said, I was learning how to. My daddy was teaching me how to make up biscuits when I was 7 years old.
So basically, there was no family trips to a grocery store to buy groceries. You straight lived off the land.
But you had to have money to go to the grocery store, and
Right.
we didn't have it. So we had to live off the land.
Right. What would you say a loaf of bread costed back then?
Probably not even $1.
Probably not even 10 cents.
And bread now is $3 or $4 a loaf.
What did your parents do for a living?
They were sharecroppers.
So they didn't really have a job. They just.
Well, yeah, and tobacco field and corn.
How did they get the land and living arrangements that they got?
Well, see, like my granddaddy,
It was passed down.
bought the seed and fertilizer and all for them to plant the crops
Right.
with a mule and a plow.
Right.
We didn't have no tractors. And then the black people would keep it
Keep it up.
and then.
But they were compensated, right? At this point, they weren't slaves. They were paid, right?
Yeah, the sharecroppers.
Right. So, but your parents were sharecroppers too, right?
Yeah.
So they were like right there next to people that used to be slaves,
Right.
just poor.
Yeah. And after the crop was harvested, and when Granddaddy got the money, he paid my daddy so much for farming, farming with him.
Right. Over the years, did the cropping and all that stuff get bigger and bigger?
Yeah. So my granddad owned a lot of land, and
How did he get that land though? What did he buy from somebody, or was it passed down to him?
well, it was inherited from the family.
Oh, so back then, if you didn't have family that owned something that passed down to you, you were
Right.
pretty much set. You know what I mean? Just
See,
poor.
when his daddy and mama died, he was inherited. He
Inherited the land
yeah,
and then just built a house on the land.
yeah.
So y'all had a house that didn't have no kind of septic system or electric, no lights, no nothing.
No, we had
Straight lanterns.
news a kerosene lamp, and Mom cooked on a wood stove.
Where would the kerosene come from?
From the store.
Did y'all have to walk to get the kerosene?
Uh-huh.
Now, did you have to physically pump that out of the ground, or was it? How'd you put it in the jug?
Oh, well, Granddad had a store too on the right hand side of the house. I mean, on down the road, and if we needed anything from a
Oh, you just go
store,
get it from. Yeah, okay.
we'd buy it from Granddad's store.
Did you have friends or people that you knew that didn't have people that owned stores and land and stuff?
Well, we didn't have time for friends.
Right.
I mean, I had a friend at school, but we had to do chores and do work around the house. If we didn't do chores, we had to help Mama wash
Right.
clothes on a scrub board. And
Do you think you went off and got married because you were just tired of living there doing chores? You wanted to do something else?
was when I got married, we had Mama had running water and bathroom.
Oh, so you remember the time where you didn't have running water, but then you got to a point where you had running water. Was that like technology for y'all back then? Like a new thing? It was like, damn,
Yeah, it
that's
was.
pretty cool. Did you have to have money to have running water?
No, we so the water come from the well, and we didn't have no water bill or nothing like
so y'all
that.
figured out how to run pipes from the
Yeah.
well. Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So But you remember filling up buckets of water from the well.
Yeah, to use in the house and to use to wash clothes. And Mama had a big iron pot in the yard, and she'd take the white clothes and put them in a wash pot and let them come to a boil, and she could let them boil for so long.
Now, back then, y'all had lye soap, right? Was it lye soap back then?
Yeah, Mama had made her own soap
Out of what?
out of fatback and
Soap,
lye.
Soap out of fatback?
Huh?
She made soap out of fatback?
Yeah. And,
How many different things do you think you can make out of fatback? Like a lot?
And made our own candles.
Did it smell, or is just for light? For the light, you made it for the light. You made the candles for the light.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you remember actually blowing a candle out before you fell asleep at night?
Yeah.
Did you ever think you'd see the day where people pay for water?
No, I never thought life would be like that till the day I died, but it changed.
Do you remember when there was no gasoline pumps? There was just...
Well, yeah.
That was probably around the time you were born, right?
Yeah.
Where do you think the world will be in the next 100 years? You think it will still be around?
Like the Jetsons on television.
Well, we're already at that point because they had like iPads and stuff, and they were communicating with people, you know?
Well, no, I don't. You don't still driving on a road.
Oh, flying cars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine wrecking a flying car?
Well, I won't live to see it.
Have you ever been on an airplane?
A rescue helicopter.
When you wrecked?
Yeah, when I was in that wreck.
Can you explain how that night happened when you was in a wreck?
Well, when I was out conscious, then I come to, and I happened to look up, and I saw all these stars, and I said, "Have I died?"
Right.
And the nurse laughed, said, "No, honey, you in a life rescue."
But at that time, you probably wish you had died, though, right?
Yeah. Because my body was all broke up.
Right.
And,
Were you in
I
a lot
was
of
hurting.
pain? Back then, there was no pain medicine, right? It was like just
No.
morphine, right?
No, the doctor would come to the house, but they had hospitals.
Right.
But they didn't have all that modern technology back
Yeah.
then like they do now. And
Did they literally take a saw and take your leg off, or how'd that happen? Was your leg crushed, or?
yeah,
And didn't you say something? You weren't drinking, but your friend
yeah,
George.
I had drunk a couple beers, but I wasn't driving. I was a passenger.
Was she speeding?
She was high as hell, and she was going at 90 and 100 miles an hour, running off the road. And I told her, I said, the next time you run off the road, I'm gonna jump out of this car. No, I got it all under control.
So was it a single car accident?
Yeah.
She hit
Yeah.
a tree.
It was just her car that wrecked. Next thing I knew, we were flying in the air and going down a steep hill, and the car hit a big oak tree.
Did you pass out?
Yeah.
Did you feel?
And I went through the motor. My legs went through the motor.
So when you were airlifted or whatever, you still had pieces of your leg, but it was like mangled or something?
Yeah, it was barely hanging. This leg was crushed, and this one was barely hanging on, and it wouldn't heal back, and so I had my legs swelled up, about this big, and it turned black and blue and purple and green and yellow, and the pain was unbearable. So they had to amputate my leg.
Do you think with today's, if that wreck would have happened today, you think that we have the technology that could have saved your leg?
Well, I never dreamed that I would ever lose my leg, but
Right.
It was out of my control. I couldn't.
Were you aware and alive and awake and whatever when they told you they would have to amputate your leg?
And I remember when I was a little girl, my granddaddy's brother this is Ashley family, not Oakley. Run granddaddy's store, and there was a woman in the store. She was a fortune teller, and she was telling all the kids their fortune. And when it come to me, she was a palm reader.
Right, a witch, somebody that could have been hanged.
Yeah, and when she read mine, she told all the kids what their future would be, but when it was my turn, she wouldn't tell me. And I said, well, why did you tell them their life future, and you won't tell me mine? She said, I can't tell you yours. It's bad.
How long between that and the wreck?
Oh God, that's about 40 years ago.
No, I'm saying how long. What was the time between her telling you that and you having the wreck? Like
a long time.
No, I'm saying, all right. So she read your palm and told you something bad was gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
And then you was in a wreck. How long was that time right there?
When she told me that, I was 9 years old.
Oh, okay. And you lost your leg at like 30, right?
Yeah.
1988?
Yeah. Yeah, I was in my late 30s or early 40s.
That's around the time I was born, right?
Yeah.
And you remember when I was born?
Huh?
Do you remember when I was born?
Yeah.
Were you still recovering from...
I was there with your mom and daddy when I got to the hospital, and my whole body was in a cast, except this one arm.
Did you ever itch and couldn't scratch it?
Well, I wanted to, but I couldn't.
Right.
Because they told me not to stick no coat hanger or anything down in that cast.
Get infected.
Yeah, get infected.
That was probably the most miserable you've ever been in your life.
Oh, Lord, yes. And Joan was there too, and she was supposed to look after me.
She was wild, wasn't she?
Yeah. Look after me while Tanya was at work. And so one morning I asked Joan, I said, would you mind making some coffee? I would like to have a cup of coffee. And she went and warmed up a cup of coffee that was made the day before.
Thinking you wouldn't be able to tell the difference?
No.
Did you get mad?
Yes. So the next time I called her, she come in there, she said, well, what in the hell do you want now? And I said, well, I got to use the bathroom. And, she walked out and would not put the bedpan under me. I had to hold it till Tanya got home. And Tanya told Joan, she said, why are you treating Mama like this? She said, you're going to have to go. She said, I'll find somebody else to stay with Mama.
We were all living in a single wide, right?
Uh-huh.
And Joan used to cut the filters off her Camels, right? Didn't Joan used to cut the filter off the cigarette?
Yeah.
That was around the same time, right? Because she only came down for like a little while, right?
Yeah.
I remember that. You think she was just? You think she just didn't like you?
Yeah. And then I thought, I got to where I could get around. Got the body cast off and get around. I lived in that little trailer there beside Karen.
Right.
And when Bradley had bought a car,
Told
got
you to
a car
mind.
from
Told you
somewhere.
to mind your business.
Huh?
Told you to mind your business.
Yeah, that's when he got his foot whooped. And the favorite part of my life that I remember was when Mom and Daddy separated. Daddy moved to Richmond, Virginia, to work on the shipyard, and we stayed here in North Carolina. And the best memory of all that I can remember was when we lived in Roxborough, when I was a teenager.
Right.
But I ended up meeting Raymond, and unfortunately I got pregnant. And when my mama told him that he would either marry me or else that we'd have a shotgun with him. So
back in those days, was it normal for a man to hit a woman?
Hit a woman?
Yeah.
I guess so. Cause Daddy was very mean and abusive to Mama. But when Daddy was at Pearl Harbor, when he was in the Army, he got shot in the back of the head, and I think it messed him up a little bit.
Right. Do you have any regrets?
Yes. I regretted getting married to Raymond because his mama did not like me at all. I went through hell living there. Then when I got pregnant again, after Ronnie was born, with Tiny, that's when Raymond built a house beside his mom and daddy.
Right.
So, and somebody burnt that house down.
Right. If you could go back and change anything, would you, other than the accident you had, would you change anything?
If I could change anything, I would not started dating when I was 15, and I would not marry Raymond under the circumstances that we had to get married. But I would have married him, but I didn't want to marry him under them conditions.
If you could get in a time machine, right? You follow me?
Uh-huh.
If you right now could go back in time and give your 16-year-old self some advice, what would you tell her?
Yeah. But
She said.
I didn't have no abusive parent. I mean, I never got, I think I got one or two whippings.
But listen, follow me, right? If you right now could go back in time and tell your 16-year-old self a piece of advice, what would you say? Like if you could go back
Yeah.
and give yourself a piece of advice, what would you say?
Yeah, I would like to start my life over.
And just make better decisions?
Make a lot of changes.
Yeah.
And not end up the way my life did. But
would you say you've lived a decent life? Dealt
yeah.
the circumstances, under the circumstances that you were dealt? You think
I'd
it's
have to. Cause I don't have the power to change nothing.
right?
I have to go on with my life the way it is.